Hey everybody, it's Tripl-L and welcome to the My Hero Academia Chapter 388 and 389 chapter review. Now, because of health problems, I didn't really have the energy to be able to do My Hero Academia earlier, so this is going to be a 2-in-1 video with 388 and 389. Kind of works out because both chapters they're not very interesting in terms of a lot of content. I mean, I think 388 has more interesting things to talk about than 389. But, you know, they're short chapters, and like 389 is pretty much, I feel it's an experience chapter. We'll talk about that more. But yeah, it's just going to be a quick review. I'm going to highlight the parts that I think are interesting, or I think the parts that get people talking. Just like normal pretty much, but I'm not expecting big page by page walkthroughs because there's nothing really to walk through here. For this video, what's going to happen pretty much, I will put a time code if you just want to go to 389. Although again, I think 388 is where the most interesting questions are, just because like there's some things happening in 388, and 389 is just really, it feels like 388 and 389 should really be smushed together. Take out some parts from them that don't really do anything, and I think you have one full chapter. One thing I will quickly say is that people get upset whenever we have these really short chapters. Me personally, I'm never going to complain about short chapters because I feel that this is indicative of bad health. I don't want to criticize someone for bad health. I don't think any author wants to be doing 11-page chapters, for instance. And personally, when I look at 389, I really feel like the guy's struggling. There's not that much text in 389. It's, again, we'll talk about that when we get there. Anyway, let's just get into it. 388, I think there's a few big topics in this one. One of the topics I want to talk about are the robots. I also want to talk about the shenanigans that are going on with the Todoroki family, with them being able to use the ice power to counter Dobby. And then I think the one I'm going to start with in terms of the topic, I want to speak about just the reality of what's going on here. I think in one of the previous videos I said the most ideal situation would have all the Todoroki family there to talk to Dobby and actually do what they said they were going to do and help out, right? I said that was the most ideal situation. I feel like in that video, I didn't go back to check if I actually said this, so apologies if I'm misremembering something or I said this on the live stream instead. I feel that to do that, you would have to pull out some of the weirdest excuses. And I think ultimately what you have here, I think, look, Horikoshi did everything he could to justify how he was going to get the Todoroki family to Endeavor. Like, this is very obviously the author's hand. Everything here is like just pure serendipity up to like 100. If you guys have been watching me for a long time, you know that there was one other situation that I've talked about where Horikoshi used all the serendipity he could to justify two people coming together to meet. That was Gentle versus Izuku, and I made this comment in the live stream, like, really, ever since Gentle versus Izuku, you should have had to know in your head that, yeah, he actually is very willing to just make the most contrived situations happen. Now, for those of you that don't understand what I'm talking about, when you look at this, this is not natural. This is not a natural thing going on here. A lot of things have to go right or wrong in order for this situation to occur. What we're looking at here is specifically, how does the Todoroki family get there? Okay. First, they need to be moving in those shelters. Second, their shelter needs to be stopped at just the right moment. They have to be there just in time. They have to be there at the right place at the right time. And the robots need to be able to enable them to be able to get to Dobby before he blows up. So the robots have to be fast enough. Now, Skeptic is really the critical thing here. I think one of the things that makes this worse is Skeptic not getting enough time to explain what he did. It just looks really, really bad. What I'm saying is ultimately, this is all very contrived. This is all very forceful. This is how Horikoshi had to do it. I feel that if he had more time, I think he could have come up with a more natural solution that doesn't look so jarring. But I do, in a way, respect how hard he went to justify getting the Todorokis there. Because I really thought, like, the most realistic thing to get was going to be the Todorokis watching on a live stream. Never did I think we were going to be in a situation where they are in a fire that's burning even Endeavor. Actually, they got there in time. But going back to Skeptic, the way that this could have been like made a little bit less finicky, I think, is to have Skeptic just have more of a role here and like actively say how he was going to screw over the Endeavor family, just because like the way it reads, it just feels like too much serendipity is getting involved. Just because you need the exact timing to work out, you need everything to go out, you need everything to go well enough just to get all those characters here. I am pretty sure also that Eri is in this shelter or one nearby. because Eri's the only one that can fix the situation with Hawks, and Eri's the only one that makes sense in terms of like holding out hope for. I do hope Eri's there just because Eri's already helped the villains. You know, like not she didn't really help them, but her existence helped them. So I want her existence to help the heroes. Anyway, look, overall, I think great on the author for actually forcing the Todoroki family to get there, but it is like a really obvious force. Again, I think if he had time, he could have made something that doesn't look as finicky as this one. Because again, like of all the shelters that got restarted, you know, it was the Shoto shelter that didn't get restarted and all that. What I really want to put out to you, like I know like the majority of you won't see the significance of what's going on here. When you're writing a story like this and you need something to happen, like you go for the easy solutions. And the easy solutions sometimes are pretty shaky, but they're just quick and dirty and they get the job done. Because like really, it doesn't matter how they get there. What really matters is them being there in front of Dobby. That's the goal. So like how you get there, like some people will say, well, like how you get there is also like what determines the value of the story that you concocted. And other people say, well, it doesn't really matter. We just need to get the result, right? It's just a matter of like what exactly you value. Again, though, I do stand by the opinion, if he had more time, if Hero Academia wasn't expedited right now, I think we could have gotten something more. But I think that will also be much harder. I think more time would have had to go into thinking about it. Anyway, the point is, I think like if you were doing this kind of story and you were writing on Amazon, you'd get a lot of critical reviews that would tank your score for a little bit because of how this goes, unless you have like a really, really rabid fan base. Anyway. Moving on from there, and we're still on the white screen because I have 2 copyright strikes on the channel, so like, let's not get Shonen Jump upset just yet. The other big point that people have been talking about is, well, how the heck are the Todoroki family actually able to survive in Dobby's flames? And a lot of things. Now, me personally, I actually don't see much problem with it, but throughout the conversations, like a lot of people pointing out, like, oh, yo, this is kind of ridiculous. Like, they're civilians. They don't use their muscle in a way. Why are they able to output this much ice? I think there's many factors that actually come into it. And I think really the answers are in chapter 387. And the guys on the live stream know we've already talked about this, but I gotta talk about it for the review. As far as I'm concerned, summon an absurd power in a crisis when it's do or die. As far as I'm concerned, that line explains everything about what's going on with Todoroki family. The reason they're able to output this much ice that's able to protect them from the flames that are burning Endeavor is because they're about to die. So their bodies are going on overdrive to protect them. And I get it. Like really what's going on here is that you have someone who's never trained, just went to a powerlifting competition and just lifted with like perfect form. They never did it a day in their life. With perfect form, they lifted and they were able to like, get 10th place in this competition of experts, right? That's essentially what's going on here with the Todoroki family, with the 3 using their ice powers. And I get why that's jarring, just because like we are in like a whole other level. Even the robot that carried Rei in there died, right? This is ridiculous that they're able to do that. And this is like another aspect of the whole situation of how finicky this is. Like, okay, so like this is one of the things that Horikoshi had to do. He had to make their ice quirk overpowered. Seeing this now though, like it adds more context to 387. Because like in 387 we're talking about the whole inbreeding issue. And I remember saying it because like I wanted to make sure I covered myself, but I said like unless there's some other mechanism getting involved with the quirks, I think that ice quirk, I think it's ridiculously overtuned. I think it's been overtuned since we saw Shoto use the ice. Well, he used phosphor on Dobby, and we saw how he pretty much iced over like the whole city. Well, not the whole city, but you know, a significant amount of the city. Ever since that chapter, I thought the situation here is that it's not that the Rake or the ice quirk is balancing out Endeavor's fire quirk. It's that Endeavor's fire quirk is protecting Shoto from the ice quirk. I think the ice quirk is ridiculously overtuned. I think all those generations of inbreeding, not only did it give them like really weak bodies, I think it also really, really overcharged that ice quirk. I don't know how it worked. I don't know how it did it, but quirks are tied to Vestige World and quirks are external factors. According to like a fixed translation, it feels like those guys somehow managed to concentrate the ice quirk into this form, such that it's easier for an amateur to bring out. Okay. How should I say this? Let's say the fire quirk at a beginner level usage gives out like 20 joules of energy. That's for the fire quirk. The ice quirk at a beginner level usage gives out 100. That's 5 times 100 joules of energy in terms of the output. That's what I think's going on here. That ice quirk is way too overpowered, such that even idiots can use it to this degree when they get into adrenaline mode or they get absurd power in a crisis. I think that's what happened. I think that's the easiest thing to say, just to like save face here on this one. Personally, I don't care in the long run. Like, it's do or die. It's the final bit of the manga. Like, whatever. Let them do whatever they need to do. They will never again be able to do this. So, all good. Honestly, if the Todoroki family is outputting that level of ice, they really should have just been used against all the villains, because they would have just iced them over immediately. But hey, you know, my opinion. No one wants to put a teacher, a college student, and a mental ward patient on a battlefield. That just sounds like a bad idea. Now, what's the last one that I really wanted to talk about? Well, you know, for me, what I wanted to talk about are the robots. So the robots are like the biggest enabler here, because like one thing you have to understand is that no person would take Rei to the epicenter, but the robots will. And the robots offer like this really interesting logic conundrum that I want to kind of take you guys through. I won't criticize everything here. I will just ask you guys simple questions. These robots will do whatever they ask a human, or whatever a human asks them to. If a human asks a robot, hey, stab me in the heart with that knife, is the robot going to do it? Okay, you know, think about it. Just like you make your answer. I don't really care what your answer is. Just make your answer. Second question. A human asks the robot, drive me into the middle of that really busy highway with all those cars and drop me there. Is the robot going to do it? Into the very busy highway with all those cars driving. Let's say it's nighttime. Let's to make it a little bit more dangerous. All right. You make your you come up with your answer, and you decide. Then, the third question, robot, will you take me to that giant ball of fire? Okay. You know what the answer for these robots are. So my question to you, depending on, I don't know what you answered, but at any point did you say no to any of those previous two questions? Like, did you say no to the stabbing? Because that one's pretty overt. You don't want to think that this robot's going to go along with your desire to commit suicide. But the thing is, the safest thing for Horikoshi to do with these situations, when it comes to the robots, like if he's asked the question, hey, will the robot, if you ask it to, stab you in the heart? He really should say yes. Because he should say yes unless he specifically says Nedzu isn't that great of a programmer and didn't take into account the flaws in the instructions he gave, right? Such that the robots can't understand killing someone by circumstance. That would be like an unacceptable one if he acknowledges that the developer had flaws. That's the only way to get out of this. But yeah, really, like when it comes to Horikoshi, if he's not giving that answer, he really should be saying yes. The robots will stab you if you ask them to, because that's the logical extreme to what's going on here. They pretty much just drove Rei into the sun, where they themselves could die. They did not take into account the danger. Like, there's no safety protocols on these robots, is what we're really seeing here. And again, for like Japan, very interesting. But that was one of the most interesting things when it came to the robots. It's just that little problem that forms there. But yeah, for Horikoshi, I kind of wish we could ask him that question, because I want to see what he would say. Because then this would turn into a philosophical debate, and that would be interesting, and it would just really be a cool way of pointing out where his biases are, if he has any. You gotta remember, like, we exist to serve human desires, but like human desires are not always the correct ones. So yeah, no, I found that one really interesting. A commenter, Jason Thomas, and I talked about this one quite a bit, because the robots are enabling someone to die. So like when you look at it from that perspective, it's really like, yeah, they should, unless the developer wasn't good enough to like take into account all situations, yeah, they should be okay with helping you commit suicide. Anyway, I'm a programmer. I like that kind of stuff. I like thinking about like the program didn't take in this kind of stuff into account. It makes me excited. It makes me happy. I like talking about it. I like, you know, speculative fiction. I like thinking about it too. All right, cool. So we got that. Let's get into the page-by-page walkthrough for the more interesting chapter 388. I got stuff to say, boys. I got stuff to say, boys and girls. All right, first chapter or first page is the one where Kendo is attacking. Now, I will draw your attention to this. All right, look, all I want to know is how these people got sticks of dynamite into the Utopia. That's all I want to know. We know these people were checked. We know these people were kept in isolation. I just want to know how they got there. Now, here's the thing. First, these people, they got this shit up on the ceilings, man. These guys, super high level competent. Conversely, UA, super high level incompetent. I don't know where these people were able, I don't know how these people were able to keep things hidden from UA. For the girls, I can kind of figure it out. For the guys, I can also kind of figure it out. If we put jail rules here, I can kind of figure it out. But really, I just wish we got an in-universe explanation for how they were able to get so many explosives into the area and were able to like strip it and were able to like attach these things to the ceiling. I'm just so curious. This seems like really high level competency, and I'm not used to that kind of competency from regular people in Hero Academia. Yeah, nah, man. Really impressive. Really not impressive for UA though. I mean, they sabotaged the system's foundation. How they even manage that without Skeptic? Well, I don't know. It's just like this is real high level competency, people. All right, so page 2, not really that important. It's just showing what's going on. We see the people from the school festival. We just get to see, okay, they're here. Again, when you see these people here, you gotta be thinking, yeah, Eddie must be here. And like the reason that Eddie hasn't been shown is because he wants to keep it a surprise. But like, Eddie must be here or nearby. We also see Death Arms at this page. There's nothing really important here other than saying like how everyone else is going to be getting away from stuff. We go to page 3, and what I find very funny is how they say don't stare at Dobby. It's like, why say Dobby and not just say the giant sun on the horizon? Don't stare at that ball of fire. It's like, don't stare at Dobby. Like, way to go. You just gave away who's causing, well, I don't know. Everybody has a funny one. It's just a funny little thing. You know what? I'm not even going to criticize it. I can come up with a reason why someone would say Dobby. It's just, it feels kind of goofy to me. It feels like no more like, oh yeah, as a reader, I know what the sun is. I don't know if that's how they would, I don't know if those people would know it's Dobby over there, you know? I just feel like saying don't stare at that ball of fire is more informative than don't stare at Dobby, because not everyone is watching the live stream. There's a lot of old people here. I doubt they even have an iPad on them. I doubt they even know how to use it. Okay, we have Ray commandeering one of these robots. I just noticed that that robot has enough space to carry people. I think it's very selfish of Ray to be taking one of those robots when there's so many people that still need to get on a robot to get out of here. So Ray, very selfish of you. Very selfish. That robot could have transported 20 people, but now you're taking it to its doom. But it's a utopia, so I assume that Netsu, for whatever reason, has more robots than he has people. Anyway, like this sequence of pages, heck, on page 5, there's even like a giant black spot. There's nothing really of value here beyond that, other than just kind of establishing how it is that Ray got there. Now, in the previous chapter, I was thinking that Ray got there because Shoto brought her there. I thought that would have been appropriate, but no, we're not doing that. That's okay, though. That's okay. Ray gets there through robots. Again, the theme of the final arc of Hero Academia has really been technology is amazing. And like this chapter again confirms it. Okay, so page 6, not important either, other than just saying that the robot got destroyed by the flames. Still holding up his thumbs up. I appreciate that. I do like the art though. Page 7 is a quick little thing about how she's gonna burn to death, and you know, Toya, like her and Endeavor have a little bit of a moment there. Now, what's going on here? Like Horikoshi is trying to cover his butt. Are you trying to cool him down, Ray? You must have coated yourself with a layer of ice to even get this close. So, of course, we always appreciate this. He's telling us exactly what's happening. Oh, guys, there's a layer of ice. You might not be able to see it, but she's covering herself. Of course, the big thing is, like, yeah, that ice is cold enough to be able to put away or to be able to block the massive flames that are going to be causing an explosion or whatever, or burning Endeavor and all that kind of stuff. Now, when it comes to page 8 and 9, I think page 8 is actually probably one of the better ones. I kind of just like how Toya is recognizing his mother's there. I like seeing the apology. I like seeing how Dobby kind of leads into Fuyumi and Natsu getting there as well. That was pretty cool how he's just looking away. I really did like that. On page 9, we see the two arrive. Again, the art's really good. We didn't get much, but the art's good. I really hope Fuyumi doesn't die, man. Like, she's the best. Like, come on. She's outputting enough ice to be able to survive Dobby's flame. Come on. That's like hardcore hero level, man. They really all should be heroes. Endeavor, You gave up on this family way too quickly, man. Like, these people could have been icing people over since the very beginning. Like, frostbite's a serious thing. Honestly, like, the ice output that these guys are pulling off. And you know what? Being able to cover their body in a layer of ice, that also feels pretty skillful. Yeah, no, man. These guys are natural born geniuses. Man, Endeavor, you were sitting on a gold mine. You didn't even realize it. Anyway, we just have the Todoroki family coming in. Again, I feel that them being there was the best way to do this whole situation. Again, I disagree with how we got there, just because I think you could have done more to make it a little bit more smooth. But this is what I wanted. This is ultimately what I envisioned when I thought Endeavor versus Dobby final fight. The family had to get involved because this is a Todoroki family problem. One thing this does tell you is that Horikoshi cares more about he cares more about those key critical moments than he does how he gets there. Okay, by the end of the chapter, you pretty much go back to 387 in terms of what Endeavor was thinking. If I blast off and add my own heat to the mist, Toya's body is gonna blow. So, what's interesting on this line is that in one of the previous chapters, Endeavor was saying, hey, I'll use Toya's heat and I'll go straight up into the sky. But now, the author had to change it around, being like, oh shit, I can no longer use Toya's heat to go into the sky, because if I make things hotter, it's going to blow up. So that's what the author is saying. And the reason he's doing that is just to justify why the Todoroki family are still going to be so close enough to be able to hit Endeavor with the ice. That's all he's justifying. Again, you can very much see how heavy-handed he is. You can see his maneuvers. I think what makes that part a little bit more jarring is because in the previous chapter you had Endeavor saying, like, I just need to use the guy's heat to get away from everyone. Actually, let me just bring it up. Oh, there it is. I was also just seeing even like Endeavor's comment about how the fire is so hot it can burn even him. Yeah, I can't cover enough ground quickly enough, so instead we'll ride your fire straight into the sky, Toya. So like, it's really interesting how you go from just a few seconds have passed and you go from we'll ride your heat into the sky to, oh shit, I can't use my own fire to like blast off here because Toya's gonna blow up. It's really funny how quickly that's actually, the more I look at this, the worse it gets, because it's like, what changed about Toya's fire that you can no longer ride the fire straight into the sky? Anyway, it doesn't matter. Everything is bending around what the story needs, not what logically follows. Anyway, we then get to this chapter, which people had then we get to this page, which people had a lot of opinions on. Me personally, I think it's nice. Yeah, it kind of scared me though, because I'm thinking like, this is the kind of stuff that you see when people are about to die, and when you look at it, you actually can't see Natsu's face, you can't see Rei's face, you can't see Fuyumi's face really, and it just makes me think like, are those guys dead? But it was a interesting way of ending the chapter, like Dobby's little vision of his family together. This must be how Dobby's imagining it. Yeah, he's delirious, he's dehydrated, like he's a walking corpse at this point. Anyway, that's chapter 388, the significantly more interesting one. Let's go into 389. 389 begins with a color page of Toga and Ochako. Now, the volume was released, or the volume cover's out, so I assume that the color page is there to celebrate the new volume coming out because it has Toga's face on it. Yeah, no, this is a pretty intimate shot, all things considered. I didn't even realize that Toga was actually straddling Ochako, because if you see here, like, yeah, no, her legs are already fully wrapped around. Honestly, Ochako's kind of lost this fight. Like, Ochako, what are you going to do? You're going to smack her across the face before she puts that knife into your throat? Like, are you crazy? Bruh, in the time you try to do that, this girl, like, even if you do that, she's so latched onto you, you're not, like, Ochako's losing this, alright? Like, even zero gravity isn't going to help her. Like, if Toga wanted to, she could rip off a whole chunk of Ochako's face right then and there. Yeah, pretty rough. Pretty rough time. Okay, so one thing I want to say about 389 is overall I feel like this is a an experience. I feel it's because there's not really a lot of text in the later pages. I feel that if you're watching the anime and you got the music going, you got some really good lighting going, really like maybe some really good voice work for the few lines that there are, I think you're gonna have a really nice experience. But for a week-to-week chapter, like there's not a lot of content. Like Hero Academia actually hits a little bit lower than the level of the sparsest of the Shonen Jump lineup at this point, which is a little bit unfortunate. I like coming to Hero Academia because I like seeing the rhetoric. Anyway, on the Viz Media translation, page 3 is just a giant show to see what the ball of fire looks like. You go into page 4, which is this one that I'm currently on, and they're pretty much just giving us the background. Oh, the numbers are going down, but the explosion is inevitable, so that's just kind of ratcheting up the tension. Also, kind of stalling because you kind of know that they're not going to be able to do much, but like, yeah, the author's kind of stalling there. Still, it's cool to see the Todoroki family doing stuff. One of the biggest pieces of rhetoric that you ultimately get here is Dobby saying everyone's watching me, so this is what it's like. So, like, is there ever even any point to dissecting this? Like, you get what's going on. He's delirious. He's like, oh my god, this is what I could have had this entire time. Yeah, he's also not looking into the context of like, bro, these guys are dying, trying to like stop you from killing more people. But yeah, this is, again, you got to remember the whole the thing that connects everything is look at me. And so now everyone's looking at Dobby as he quite literally burns away into nothing. You know, if you kind of just went back home and just said look at me when you like knocked on the door, maybe you could have solved a lot of this. But hey, you know, Dobby's crazy, so you can't really apply regular stuff to him. You can't apply regular logic to him. It's the same thing that's going on here. You can't apply regular logic to this because he's very quickly reaching dehydration-induced enlightenment. Okay, so we have him here coming to a realization. If it was so simple a thing, then why? So this is just him realizing that, oh, I didn't have to be crazy. Well, at this point is what it sounds like. It's, well, okay. Let me go back. At this moment, what it sounds like is that he's saying, I didn't have to go crazy and kill a bunch of people. And you even see like this crack here. You know, I think this is actually pretty artistic. Like, what is the meaning of the crack? What are you trying to say by cracking Dobby? Are you trying to say that the person Dobby became is like falling apart? Are you going to reveal small Toya behind this? Or are you saying that who Dobby is just breaking apart? Like, there's not going to be anything left because he's burnt himself up. Is this image going to come back? Hard to say. When you look across the other page, he says, why not sooner? Like, so why weren't people looking at me so sooner if it was so simple? Because you stayed away from them most times. So really, like, this might also be just Dobby realizing things. I think when you look at the crack there, the significance of that crack, it could just be that he's realizing the Dobby persona was a waste of time and it's falling apart now. Okay, this is actually one of the cooler panels because like you see that the Togas are actually murking everyone. There's this one guy held down. There's another guy held down over here. You see Pixie Bob over here. She's still fighting pretty well. It's really ridiculous that the Twices can do so much, but whatever, it doesn't really matter. Meanwhile, Tiger's able to take a bunch of Twices all at the same time. Most significant thing here is that you see that Toga and Ochako are still going at it. It's really funny to think that, yeah, if Dobby blows up, this whole Toga situation is resolved because they'd be eaten up by the flames. But yeah, the fact that Ochako's actually so close to the blast site is really what should tell you that everything's going to be fine because they're not going to wipe out Ochako like this. We go over to the robots and we find out that they really have a lot of heroes on standby. Like, there's 2 flying heroes. They got a lot of robots. We get a really nice cute moment here with Tetsu making Kendo run, and you have the children. You can see how much the robots can carry in one spot. Also, it's funny how this girl only has like 3 or 4 students. Where's like the rest of her class is what I'm wondering. And just a very quick thing, I feel like this is the face of people suffering PTSD. I think they are so overwhelmed by the utter mayhem going around them. They are looking on that iPad like it's an oasis in a desert. Well, I don't know. That kid's kind of messed up there. He kind of looks like he's given up on life a little bit. Okay, so after this we go to page 8 and 9 where it becomes more of an experience. We're seeing the pictures of the girl, recording the whole situation, the memories of Endeavor. We see Don't You See Kid praying for Endeavor. Honestly, when I saw that the chapter was like prayers and sentiments or something like that, prayer and hopes, I really thought like, is Horikoshi making like some kind of meta commentary about how hopes and prayers are not really going to do anything and everything's about to get destroyed? Anyway, Hero Academia is a story about people with their backs against the wall still trying to do the right thing. So we continue and we get to page 10 and 11 where we see Shoto and Ida flying on a jet. Alright, overall, pretty cool. But there's nothing really after that. It's just showing Shoto off. Again, it's an experience chapter. I like seeing this little like shot of how quickly they were moving. There's no sound of. I kind of wish the author did something with sound just to see, you know, the boom effect. But yeah, no, that's pretty much the chapter. After that, it's just a page of Shoto looking good. Nothing more I can really say. Is Shoto gonna get there? I think so. I think it's pretty obvious he's gonna get there. Like, everyone's building him up. It'd be very metal if Horikoshi just goes, kills the rest of the family, leaves Endeavor, Shoto, and Toya alive. That'd be interesting. I don't think he's gonna do it. Shoto's going in there like a flame. Well, it's not like a fireball. It's just like a ball of phosphor. Yeah, no. That's chapter 389. Again, not really a lot to talk about on that one. Kind of would have been pathetic to do a chapter review video for just that one. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought down below. Again, overall, I think these chapters are a product of Horikoshi's health and ability right now. I just don't think... I think the guy's struggling. I see the proof of it every so often. I wish him all the best. This has been alright. I'm pretty sure the anime will elevate it. The art was really good. Guys, let me know what you thought down below. What do I think is going to happen next time? Shoto saves everyone. We get some final rhetoric from Dabi, and Dabi dies maybe. If Dabi stays alive, I actually wouldn't mind. Keep him alive if you want to. He's only going to be a pair of legs and a torso, so whatever. Guys, let me know what you thought down below, and till next time, I hope you have an absolutely great day. Stay safe, and yeah, hope we get some cool spoilers on Tuesday or Wednesday.